In the spring of 2010, one of the most trusted names in the world quietly changed the diaper on tens of millions of babies. And within weeks, parents flooded the government with almost 4,700 complaints, blistered skin, angry red rashes, some describing what looked like chemical burns on their own children. The photos spread across the early internet like wildfire. Panicked mothers demanded the product be pulled. It felt like the biggest baby safety scandal in a generation. And then the federal safety regulators finished their investigation and reached a conclusion almost nobody expected. That story is where this all begins, but it is not where it ends. Because the truth about what is actually inside your baby's diaper is stranger and far more unsettling than a single rash scare. Over the next few minutes, we're going to go through the diaper brands and the ingredients that have set off real alarms, a French government warning, a peer-reviewed study that found benzene in 90% of baby products, and independent lab tests that detected so-called forever chemicals in brands that market themselves as clean. But I'm going to be straight with you the entire way, because this topic is drowning in fear and marketing. So stay with me, because by the end you'll know exactly which brands and features to walk away from, and the handful that actually earned the word safe. And one of the biggest surprises is that some of the worst offenders were wearing the greenest labels. Here's the thing, almost no parent realizes when they stand in that aisle. In the United States, baby diapers are barely regulated for chemicals at all. They aren't overseen by the Food and Drug Administration the way medicine is. They fall under the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and the only chemical that federal law requires a diaper to be tested for is lead. That's it. There is no rule forcing a company to tell you what's inside. No required testing for dioxins, for fragrance chemicals, for phthalates, or for the forever chemicals we'll get to shortly. And here's the part that should make you pause. There is no legal definition of the word non-toxic on a diaper package. None. A brand can print clean, natural, pure, non-toxic, and eco across the front, and not one of those words has to mean anything a regulator would enforce. So when we ask which diapers to avoid, we're really asking two very different questions. Which ones triggered a genuine safety alarm, and which ones simply hide behind a comforting label? Let's go back to that rash scare, because how it ended tells you everything about how this industry actually works. The product was Pampers with Dry Max, launched by Procter & Gamble in March of 2010. It was thinner, more absorbent, and it replaced a chunk of the old fluff padding with more of that gel-like super absorbent material. Almost immediately, the complaints started. By late summer, the Consumer Product Safety Commission had logged around 4,700 incident reports. Parents organized online, lawyers circled, a class action lawsuit was filed. But when the investigators actually dug into the data, something odd jumped out. Roughly 85% of those thousands of complaints had all landed in a single month, May. That's not the pattern of a chemical steadily burning babies. That's the pattern of a viral panic feeding on itself. On September 2, 2010, the CPSC announced that after reviewing everything, it had found no specific cause linking Dry Max diapers to diaper rash. Health Canada reached the same conclusion. Pampers was not recalled. Now, you could read that as a total exoneration, and on the safety science, it mostly was. But hold on, because the lawsuit had a second act that's far less flattering. A settlement was reached, and in 2013, a federal appeals court threw it out. The judge, Raymond Kethledge, wrote that the relief it offered families was, in his word, illusory. The named parents would get $1,000 per child, while the class lawyers were set to collect over $2.7 million. The whole thing eventually collapsed, and ordinary parents got essentially nothing. So the real lesson of Dry Max isn't that the diaper was poison. It's that when it comes to what's on your baby, you are mostly on your own. The regulators move slowly, and the lawsuits often serve everyone except you. And if you think an American agency dropping the issue means the issue was settled, wait until you hear what happened in France. In January of 2019, the French government did something no American regulator had ever done. Its health and safety agency, known as ANSES, tested 23 different types of baby diapers and then published a warning that rattled parents across Europe. The agency reported that safety reference levels had been exceeded for several hazardous substances, including certain PAHs, a family of chemicals linked to cancer, along with dioxins and fragrance compounds. The French government was so concerned it gave manufacturers just 15 days to come up with a plan to get those substances out of babies' diapers. The health minister, Agnès Buzyn, tried to walk a careful line. She told parents there was no immediate risk and that they should absolutely keep using diapers, but she also admitted the report could not rule out a long-term health risk for children. For a lot of families, that mix of reassurance and warning was the scariest part of all. But here's where you need me to be honest, because this is exactly where a lot of scare videos would stop. That French report did not go unchallenged. 2 years later, in 2021, the European Chemicals Agency, the European Union's own top scientific body on chemicals, reviewed the case and concluded there was not enough scientific evidence to say those diaper chemicals actually posed a risk. And a separate peer-reviewed reevaluation found that ANSES had likely overestimated some of those chemical levels by hundreds, even thousands of times. So Europe ended up split against itself, one agency sounding the alarm, another saying the alarm was not justified. That tension between what we can detect and what actually causes harm is the key to this entire story. And it comes roaring back with the next discovery, which was made right here in the United States. In 2023, a peer-reviewed American study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology did something the government never had. Researchers tested dozens of diapers and wipes for volatile organic compounds, things like benzene, a known human carcinogen, and they found benzene in 90% of the baby products they tested. Chloroform showed up in the majority of baby diapers. On paper, that sounds like a nightmare. But look closer at what the same scientists concluded, because the number that matters most is the dose. When they modeled the actual risk to a baby from those trace amounts, the worst-case lifetime cancer risk approached roughly 1 in a million. That is a real, measurable presence of scary-sounding chemicals, and at the same time, an exposure level that sits near the very bottom of what regulators treat as concerning. Both things are true at once, and that is the single hardest idea to hold on to in this whole subject. Detecting a chemical is not the same as proving it harms your child. Keep that in your back pocket because it's about to be tested by the most talked about chemical of them all. You've probably heard the term by now, forever chemicals. Officially, they are called PFAS, a huge family of synthetic compounds that do not break down in the environment or in our bodies, and that have been linked in higher doses to real health problems. Starting around 2019, an independent testing community called Momavation began commissioning lab tests on diapers, looking for a marker of these chemicals. And in their 2023 round, covering 65 products across 40 brands, they found indications of PFAS in a meaningful slice, around 17% of the disposable diapers they tested. And now the part that flips everything you would assume. Some of the brands that showed those PFAS indications were exactly the ones marketing themselves as the clean, eco, natural choice. An eco-labeled brand like Bamboo Nature showed up with detectable organic fluorine. A green-branded diaper called Attitude registered even higher. Meanwhile, some plain, unglamorous options came back clean. The comforting label on the front of the box was, in these cases, telling you almost nothing about what the lab actually found inside. So does that mean these companies were secretly poisoning babies? Here is the honest answer, and it matters. Most experts believe PFAS in diapers isn't a deliberate ingredient at all. It is contamination picked up from manufacturing equipment, packaging, and a world where these chemicals are now almost everywhere. In fact, when one brand, Coterie, was sued over trace PFAS, it successfully argued in court that these chemicals have become so ubiquitous it is essentially impossible to make and ship a diaper that is completely free of them. And a whole wave of these lawsuits against Coterie, against Huggies wipes, against the Kirkland wipes sold at Costco were dismissed or quietly withdrawn because no one could show the trace levels were actually harming anyone. These are allegations that didn't hold up in court, and you deserve to know that, not just the scary headline. Which brings us to the most ironic case of all, a company built entirely on the promise of being non-toxic. The Honest Company was founded in 2011, marketed from day one as the clean, natural, safe alternative for worried parents. And that very promise became a legal target. The company faced lawsuits challenging its natural claims. And in 2017, it settled for $7.35 million without admitting wrongdoing. The brand that sold non-toxic as its entire identity became the textbook example of how slippery that word really is. Which is the perfect moment to finally answer the question you came here for. After all the panic and all the debunking, is anything actually cleaner? And the answer is yes. Because here's what cuts through the noise. When there's no government standard, the closest thing to a real guarantee is independent third-party proof. And a small group of brands actually put their diapers through it. Healthy Baby became the first and only diaper certified by the Environmental Working Group, and also carries Made Safe certification, meaning outside labs checked it against long lists of worrying chemicals. Coterie, despite that dismissed lawsuit, publishes a broad third-party chemical panel and tested non-detect for organic fluorine. Kudos, Pura, Eco by Nady, Andy Pandy, Diaper, and Seventh Generation have all, in independent testing, come back with no detectable forever chemical marker. But I want to be careful because I'd rather give you something true than something that just sounds reassuring. Safe here does not mean magically pure. It means these are the brands that opened themselves up to outside testing and passed, that chose fragrance-free, dye-free, lotion-free formulas, and backed it with certifications instead of slogans. That's the real signal, not the color of the packaging, not the word natural, the willingness to be tested by someone who doesn't work for them. And notice the pattern that keeps repeating through this entire story. The loudest safety scare, Dry Max, was cleared by the science. The scariest government warning from France was walked back by Europe's own experts. The most alarming chemical findings came attached to some of the greenest labels. And the company that shouted non-toxic the loudest is the one that paid millions to settle over its claims. Fear and marketing, it turns out, are two sides of the very same coin, and both of them are aimed squarely at your wallet. So where does that leave you? Standing in that aisle, just wanting to do right by your kid? Here's the honest takeaway. The system is finally, slowly starting to move. In December of 2024, New York became the first state in the country to pass a law requiring diaper makers to actually list their ingredients on the package, a basic transparency that somehow didn't exist before. More states are moving to ban forever chemicals from baby products, but none of that helps you tonight. So you become the last line of defense. Ignore the front of the box where the marketing lives and look for the proof. Third-party certifications like EWG Verified or Made Safe, and formulas that are fragrance-free, dye-free, and lotion-free. Understand that a detected chemical isn't automatically a dangerous dose, so you can make calm choices instead of panicked ones. And remember that a clean-sounding name means nothing without a lab result behind it. Because in an industry where non-toxic is just a word anyone can print, the only real protection is knowing which questions to ask. If this helped you see that diaper aisle a little more clearly, subscribe and stick around. We dig into the products in your home that nobody else is willing to question.